in the second round this year. I keep it going to round number 3. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts. When you get a chance to get 3 potential starters, I think they had a heck of a round for you. Rodney Woods is the big athletic tight end. We talk about that being a great position. That's a great pick. Bernard Ryan, I thought there was a chance he could go in the first round. He goes into the third. And then Nick Cross, a very athletic safety, ran in the 4th. He's out of Maryland. All 3 of these guys will be starters before too long.
Well, the Baltimore Ravens won round 4 just based off volume. They had 6 picks in the 4th round, but I think you look at their first 2 picks, Daniel Faalele, the big right tackle, 6.
What's good?
The corner from Alabama, might have won it with those 2 picks alone. Then they had 4 more that got kind of doubled up on the tight ends.
Sorry, just a second. What is good, TikTok? Happy Monday, I guess. Not 2 words that go together very often, happy and Monday, but here we are. My day was good. Thank you for asking. How was yours? It was good as a Monday can be. Actually, it really wasn't that bad. Here in India, it's still not super warm. That's right. Favorite bald cop. I love it. There are many imitations out there, but don't be fooled. I appreciate that. Thank you. How is everyone today? That's right. Go Colts. That is what is up. Man, I'm excited. I am excited. Go Pacers. Okay. I like it. This is the first time as a Colts fan I've been excited in months and months and months. I'm going to say probably since the New England game. Is really the last time I was excited. I think the Colts knocked it out of the park in the draft. I really do. I'm excited for Alec Pierce. I've never watched the guy a whole lot. I've seen him. I know who he is, that sort of thing. But hearing from other people that have really watched him, people from Cincinnati, that sort of thing, the comparisons to Cooper Kupp are absolutely insane. And I'm not a big fan when people do that. They're like, oh, man, he reminds me of Cooper Kupp, or he's the next this, or he's the next that. We want him to be the next Alec Pierce. That's what we want him to be, obviously. But if he's going to be like Cooper Kupp, so be it. I mean, really? And not really. Hey, I ran across a random Officer Craig comment today on a bike video on TikTok. All right. There are a lot of those out there. Some things I just need to put my 2 cents in and keep moving. But that's what I do. That's funny. I think we should draft Desmond Ryder instead of Jelani Wood. See, that's Big Trust 770. That's where I'm glad. That's why I'm so excited that we did not. And I say we, of course, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Officer Craig. We talk lifelong football. Ask whatever you want. I ask that you just be respectful. We talk a lot of football, especially Colts football. So, that's where I disagree. Just because I didn't want them to roll the dice with a quarterback right now. With bringing Matt Ryan in, we're going to have to draft a quarterback, obviously. But I didn't think there was anybody that they were just in love with in this draft, so I didn't want them to force the, to push the envelope. Hey, I don't have any up here. Disregard. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, they're all downstairs. Disregard. Aviators is all I wear. Pitbull, that's what all my kids' friends call me. Yeah, I think Alec Pierce is an absolute steal. For those of you that are new here, please give me a follow if you would. Hit that plus button right there. Thank you so much. Keep the likes coming. I appreciate you so much. Smash that screen. Giants fans in the house. All right. Colts Nation, obviously always in the house anytime you stop by here. the Colts are not well represented on any form of social media, so it's kind of like seeing a rare bird in the wild or something like that. Dude, the Lions. So that's what I want to talk. I want to talk about the first couple drafts, the first couple picks in the draft. How do you guys think that they did? What about the Trayvon Walker? Do you guys think that he was Do you guys think that he was the number one? I did think that was weird. That was a weird story that broke. I didn't hear when that happened. It was odd. So I'm not sure what the skinny is or the backstory, because there's always a backstory. Dun dun dun. So yeah, I thought Hutchinson was the number one guy. I thought he was it. 2 years ago was a chase and wrecked my bike, and y'all got me. Oh man, I hope you're all right in the bike wreck. That's awesome. That you're okay, obviously. Colts had an awful draft. That obviously you did not watch the same draft. Colts did not have an awful draft. For not having a first round pick, the Colts drafted 3 starters. Basically, possibly 4, like right out of the gate. And to be able to draft guys, to be able to plug and play, I think that is what more can you ask for? Especially when you've got a Band-Aid quarterback. And I hate to use that term. Don't at me, other Colts fans or Matt Ryan fans, but it's a Band-Aid. It's a 37-year-old guy we're bringing in to get us, to bide some time. Jimmy Eugene, what's good? They didn't have. Oh, I don't disagree, Zach. I don't disagree with that. I'm the first one to tell the Colts and say on here all things that I think that are wrong and bad and evil in the world, especially with them. So, I'm starting to think you like the Colts a little. It's a disease, I know. But keep the likes coming. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But sorry, I'm trying to keep up. For those of you that don't know me, I'm super ADD when I'm on here. Especially, I'm ironing. I iron a uniform on a nightly. That's what I do on here. So I got a lot going on. But yeah, I think so. PDE Lori, sorry, reading some of these screen names is not my forte sometimes. Do you think they're a lock for the division? You never say never, and you never can guarantee anything because the season's long, anything can happen. However, I do think their odds went up a whole lot more after the draft. Like I feel completely different about this Colts team, the 2022 Colts team, coming into this season than I did before the draft. Obviously, and I can't say obviously because there are a lot of drafts, and there are a lot of teams. There are teams that had a draft this season or just last week that's not going to be a huge impact immediately for their team. So with that being said, I think the Colts had the best plug-and-play draft, meaning the guys that they picked, I think they picked more, they had more picks that they're going to be able to have plug-and-play, meaning they're going to be starters more so than any other team. And the Colts needed it in a bad way. Trevor, congratulations, man. Good deal. I figured you'd pass the qualification. Look, man, once you get to the point where they're spraying you, where you're getting OC sprayed, they're not. They've already invested enough time and money on you at this point. It's not behoove of them to have you fail. AFC South play, and that's good. That is good. That doesn't scare me because guess what? The Officer Craig Pelton reporting for duty. I appreciate you. Thank you. So, but that's good. Talking about the AFC South playing the West, I'm down with that. That does not frighten me because the Colts defense, you look at, you've got these high-flying quarterbacks in the West. Well, the AFC now just across the board. I think the Colts pass rush, and that's why I always talked about that's why I talked about the moves, some of the moves that the Raiders made in this offseason. I think that's why I think the Raiders are going to have somewhat more of an upper hand in the division, a lot more so than a lot of people are giving them credit for, because of what they've worked on the pass rush. Dude, Tannehill jumping to the Titans real quick, and stick with me, guys. Like I said, I bounce around a lot. I do think Tannehill can be benched, and I think that because I don't think anybody, even in Nashville, I don't think anybody's just sold that Ryan Tannehill is their answer. I don't believe that. And whoever's in here, for my moderators that are in here, just a reminder, if there's somebody that's doing this or whatnot, do not mute them, just block them. Please and thank you. He's so overrated, he's awful. Who was that? Are we talking about Tannehill? Sooner, yes, I am. I completely forgot about it, and then I remembered, and when I remembered, it was super late. So yes, I will get with you tomorrow. I'm trying to get better on Instagram. I really am. It just doesn't come naturally to me, and it's been a wild past busy week for me. Rams are running it back. You know what? I think the Rams will have a decent season this year, but I don't think the Rams will repeat. I think this will be the Rams' last great season or really good season for a little while. And I think you're already going to start to see it. They're going to start falling apart. Seriously. Man, it has been busy, and a little bit of self-promotion. I shared this with you all last night. Just to share my good news. I appreciate that. Thank you. I was named Region 5 SRO of the Year, which was Officer of the Year for 5-state area, 5-state region, which is super awesome for me. It's great to have your work recognized. So it's been busy the past week. Rams barely won a team with no offensive line. No, I mean, I don't think they will. But look at the NFC. What? Who do you think? This is a good point. I really haven't talked about this a whole lot. Who was the winner? Who is the team to beat out of the NFC? Who do you guys really think, with talking about the draft as well, who in the 22 season, who do you guys think will be the team to beat out of the NFC? Tampa? Rams? Bucks? What do you guys think about the Eagles? What? And aside from Eagles fans, what do you guys seriously think about the Eagles? Do you think they're mismanaged? Do you think, because they've made some baller moves. They really have. And remember, the Eagles, and I talked about this past season and a lot in the offseason. We talked about the Eagles weren't even supposed to be good. The Eagles were in a rebuild last year. And they end up accidentally making the playoffs. How do you accidentally make the playoffs? So I think the Eagles way overshot expectations last year. They came into this draft. They've done nothing but build more assets. I think the Eagles, do not sleep on the Eagles. I'm not saying they're going to be 2017 Eagles, but I think they're not going to be somebody you're going to want to play on Sunday if that's your team. NFL ranked Colts draft to see. Who? Where? Mr. Thompson. I think Vikings could make a good push this year. I could see that. A deep push? I don't know. But I think they'll have I think the Vikings will have a good regular season. The Niners are a question mark to me. I think there are a lot of unknowns in San Francisco at the moment. I really do. And that's not good going into the season with, starting the season with question marks. So I hope that they sure all of those questions up before the season gets started, because that's not a good way to start your season. That's not good for your team. That's not good for, obviously your fans will hate it. But they, even down to Jimmy G, or what you're doing with your absolutely star player on your team, like those are two giant question marks. Are we going to have him? Are we not going to have him? What are we doing? I like the Saints. Defense is loaded. Colts will be really good. Yeah, we want to build Pierce, not waste his talent. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up, guys. Glenn, what's good, man? How are you? Roger's so mad. He said he came back expecting Adams to come back. Oh, without a doubt. But when it comes to Green Bay, I think they made good moves. At least in good faith. They brought him. They went out and got him some talent. That first pick, I talked about this last night a little bit. I'm like, dude, they brought him back just to screw with him. Is this franchise really spend all that money just to screw with Aaron Rodgers? There is absolutely no way, because I couldn't figure out what they were doing. But they showed some good faith and brought him some talent in the draft. And those are they brought a couple plug and play, like what I think is plug and play guys. Oscar, what's good? How are you, man? Used to be a bad kid. Well, hopefully you're not anymore. Nah, there's never bad kids, man. Just mistakes, right? Just mistakes and lessons learned. I was a bad kid too. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up, guys. Yeah, not like really. Some of these opinions on Kenny Pickett. That's the Steelers are a team that's going to be interesting to watch. Like the whole quarterback thing going on, and because don't forget, unless they end up just trading him, Mason Rudolph isn't just going to sit back and be like, yeah, I'm going to continue being a backup quarterback to Mitch Trubisky or a rookie. If you think for a second that guy feels that way, think again. Being a backup quarterback to a Super Bowl or an MVP caliber like Big Ben, that's different. That has a different feel. That has a different taste. That has a different texture to it. But thinking you're going to play second fiddle to a rookie or, somebody that half the league considers washed up, as in Mitch Trubisky, no. I don't see that he's going to be interested in doing that. And I think he's going to really try to prove the Steelers front office and their coaches that he's their guy. So I think training camp in Pittsburgh is going to be fun to watch. Because do they go into the season holding 3 quarterbacks? I wouldn't think so. And those 3 quarterbacks, the 3 quarterbacks that the Steelers have right now, 2 months ago, if you would have, when we were on here having this conversation, talking about the Colts, I would have taken any 3 of those quarterbacks as a starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts over Carson Wentz all day, every day. And Washington fans, you're not saying it yet, but you will be. You will be saying the same thing. And that's kind of a shot at Carson Wentz, but that's also a tip to the cap of the talent that they have in Pittsburgh. I didn't think all teams don't keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster. They do not. They might have some on the practice squad, but they do not keep 3 quarterbacks. But I think Mason Rudolph, I thought before they picked up Mitch Trubisky that he should get an opportunity or a chance to lead this team. Now, obviously, I think Kenny Pickett is their guy. I think that all of that just makes sense. If he can fit that mold and make that transition to the NFL as he's expected to, Kenny Pickett is definitely going to be the long-term guy in Pittsburgh. But this season, hard to say. It's really hard to say. It could end up being him. I still expect it to be Mitch Trubisky because I think Mitch Trubisky is going to come out swinging. But I also think Mason Rudolph's going to come out swinging as well. So we'll see. I think Pittsburgh will end up winning in the long run. I don't want no bandwagons on my team. Keep that same energy towards my Saints, right? But hey, there's always room for bandwagons. That's part of it. That's what happens. Thoughts on Washington drafting quarterback? That was a good move on Washington's behalf. And I also expect to see what's his name? The guy they drafted. I also expect to see him start some games this season. Because Washington is that fan base, and I don't mean this in a negative way in any way, shape, or form. Washington reminds me of a lot of like a Philly fan base, maybe New York, something similar like that. Meaning the fans are going to tolerate very little nonsense. So when Carson Wentz begins to play like Carson Wentz, and they lose some games, or they start blowing leads, or whatever the case may be, he's going to take a tremendous amount of blame. The Boo Birds are going to come out, and they're going to end up making a change probably mid-season, and that rookie's going to end up starting. That's how I think that's going to go down. And I definitely foresee that happening probably halfway through the season. But I think he'll also start out halfway decent. I expect him to do fairly decent for a little bit. Jelani Woods, best pick in the draft. I can't say that I completely disagree with that. Eagles are trash. Who won the draft in your opinion? Thompson, I told you, man. And call it fanboy, but I really think, and I'm talking overall, and the Colts really, really surprised me. They really surprised me. They went after every need, or most every need that we had in a big way. They got guys that can play right now, and I think the Colts, if they didn't win the draft, they were a close second, third at the lowest. I think the Ravens won the draft. What that's the second time you said the NFL. I've seen nothing about the NFL giving the. I haven't seen any. Matter of fact, it's been the absolute opposite. Everybody talks about how well the Colts have done. Where are you seeing that? Yeah, that Sauce Gardner, man, the Jets. But here's what you look at when winning the draft. You also look at the picks that the team has, and the cards that they're dealt, or what they have to work with. That's what I'm talking about. I don't mean the Colts got the most talent, but they did the most with what they had, without question. I wholeheartedly believe that. The Jets should have done much better in the draft because they had much higher picks. Hell, nobody should have done better in the draft but the Eagles with all the pick. I mean, honestly, the Eagles should have come away from the 2022 draft just with everyone's focus on them. I truly believe that. They had, 3 first-round picks? Well, they ended up trading one. And then, they had a couple of 5s. They had multiple higher-round picks. Let's see. You don't know if you like Alec Pierce? Have you watched any video on him? Have you watched any game clips or any of that? Dude looks like I said, I hate using the Cooper Kupp analogy, but dude looks like he's a beast. He looks like he's a complete beast. He's a ball hawk. He fights for the ball. Doesn't look like he drops a lot of passes. Yeah, right? I know, right? Did you see the reports Tyrann Mathieu signing with the Saints? I did not. Austin Collie. I could see that, but I think he's bigger than Austin Collie. Austin Collie was a little more slim and sleek. This guy's got more muscle on him, which means he's harder to go down, or at least I hope. He should win those 50-50 balls, and that's what you want. The Jelani Woods, another big win. So is the other tight end that they drafted. What was his name? Ogletree? Is that his name? Port Saints signed him Tyrann to a 3-year, $33 million deal. Okay. Good. And that sounds about right. And I don't think, that's a lot of money, but is it ridiculous? I don't think it's ridiculous money. Yep. 3 years, $33 million. That's awesome. So good for the Saints. So the Saints are going to demand some respect this season. A lot of LSU free agents. Football. Our whole offense is like a giant wall. It's so tall. And that's good. I love tall receivers. And this is like the smaller guys like T.Y. Hilton or your Cole Beasleys, guys like that. They're good in the slot. They're good across the field or on speed. But they thank you. Deputy Deal, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. I finally won something. No, but that was very cool. Are you talking about the Colts? Yes. Yep. And others. Cincinnati University won the draft. Yeah, they definitely did in big ways. We got 2 Minnesota kids, 2 kids from Cincinnati. Bills. That I haven't heard from many Bills fans lately. Yes, we were talking about the Colts receivers. It is. I think, like I said when I first got on here tonight, I feel completely different about this Colts team now than I did before the draft. Completely different. In a good way. In a good way. And for you non-Colts fans that are out there, for whoever your team is, how do you think your team fared in the draft? Because like I talked about a little bit earlier, not every draft your team doesn't make that big of an impact right now for that upcoming season. Like you may get a guy that's going to help fill a void here or there, but a lot of drafts, it's not going to make that big of a difference or give you that much immediate impact in the draft or in the season. The Colts, however, I think had that draft this year. I think Jets. Yeah, I think the Lions did well also. Bills had a B+ draft. Only hole that needed to be filled was cornerback, and they took care of that. Yeah, that's great, and I think the Colts had a absolute great offseason. Sorry, I've got to ban these knuckleheads. I'm a Patriots fan. It kind of surprised me. What kind of surprised you? The Strange pick? Did the Strange pick surprise you? Did you guys see the comments on that by the Rams when they were talking about, because he was picked 29th overall, I think. Is he guard or tackle? That the Pats picked up, and McVay and one of his assistants were like, man, we wasted our time watching this guy thinking he was going to be there at 1:30 or whatever it was. That was funny. And they were being serious. He's from Tennessee, Chattanooga. It was Bill's dog who made that pick. Oh, man. But like I said last night, look, have we ever really, if anything, you've got to give, if you're a Patriots fan, give the Patriots the benefit of the doubt. And what I mean by that is they have made some amazing picks over the past 2 decades, at least under the Belichick tenure. And they've picked up some guys that nobody else would even look twice at. So they're seeing something the rest of us don't see. That has to be it. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit for that guy to come out and be an anchor long term.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org.
You really can't get much for $5 these days unless...
Thank you for the follows, by the way. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you don't follow me, please hit that plus button. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments. Only thing I ask you, be respectful. Some people have a hard time with that. not here to talk nonsense except for football, and I'll answer any law enforcement questions for the most part if anybody has any. Ooh, Colts wide receiver depth chart 1 through 5. Yep. Stand by one. MPJ, Alec Pierce. I'm going to go with Desmond Patman in the 3 spot. Paris Campbell, Ashton Doolin. That's where I think we're at. Somewhere in there. 3 and 4 maybe flip-flop, but I think, and it depends on, it also depends on if they end up bringing T.Y. back. Because you know for a fact that if they end up signing T.Y. for a season, which if they bring him back, that's what it'd be, probably somewhere in the $3 to $4 million ballpark, if he is willing to accept that. They're still going to put him out there if he can stay healthy. Titans deep? No.
I gave them an A because I feel like they're doing what's best for Aaron.
Yeah, T.Y. still has gas in the tank if he can stay healthy. That's been his biggest problem, is the health. And don't think for a second, if T.Y. Hilton's on the field and defenses don't and play him soft, he's going to make them pay for it. I mean, that's just how it works. Strong could be decent. Price maybe 5. They should sign him for half season. He will be injured. Yeah, well, hopefully not. He should, but I really think he's so close to 10,000, which he would get this season if he even just played a couple of games. It would make sense, I think, for him to do that. And if he is the locker room presence that Frank Reich says that he is, that claims that he is, because during the combine, Frank Reich almost got choked up talking about T.Y. Hilton and what he means to the team and the locker room and this, that, and the other. So bringing him back just for a season, I think, would help develop him along with Reggie Wayne as an assistant wide receiver coach. I think that would be all good moves on the Colts' behalf. And nonsense. Yeah, I have no. Sorry, I've got zero tolerance for the nonsense. I'm not willing to pay. Oh no way. I don't see T.Y. It would have to be under $5 million. If it would have to be. He's gone. He is gone. Yeah, I've like stuff like that's just. Did you see Irsay? I did not. Was that today? Was Irsay on Pat McAfee today? I wish I had more time to watch Pat McAfee. Once upon a time when he first, not when he first, but a year or two after he first made his transition, I used to be able to watch his show and tune in more on how my schedule was. I can't now, but what did Irsay have to say? Matt Ryan, I don't know yet. It's 48 minutes? Daggone. Yes, ironing my uniform. DeAndre Hopkins was suspended for 6 games. Who are we talking about? Ty?
See this picture of J-Lo smiling there because they traded 20 spots.
Are you talking about Ty being worth it? An assistant or a consultant? Look, those are great, but that spot has already been filled by Reggie Wayne as an assistant. So bringing Ty in. Look, he was hurt. He was hurt bad last season. I still think he can have a 500-yard season without question. Because if he can stay healthy.
I had to give them they already filled their needs, obviously, with Kyler.
Yeah, and pay $3 million. Absolutely. See, something like that, and that's where I think they will. The question is, will Ty do something like that? And I hope that he will. I still, the more we talk about this, and is the Colts need some veteran presence in that core. I still think they need some veteran leadership in that wide receiving core. You would rather have, a lot of the times, the devil you know than the devil you don't know, right? And what I mean by that is, I would rather have Ty come in at a discounted rate than bring in Julio Jones, who knows nothing about this franchise, knows nothing with the exception of Matt Ryan, and pay him more than what you would pay Ty just to bring him in. Because you look at this, you look at injuries, look at all of Ty's past injuries, training staff, doctors, everyone that's on that team knows all of what he's dealing with, knows what he's nursing, all of those things. Julio Jones, on the other hand, he's going to be, he's been hurt. So, like, it's kind of 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other when you talk about him and Ty. He's not the answer. Yeah, he is in decline. No, I tell you what, Nick Cross, I think is the answer at the safety position. If I'm Corey Willis or Julian Blackmon, I would be very worried. When it comes to another plug-and-play guy, I think Nick Cross is it. Especially developing that guy, this kid under Rodney McLeod. I think that's the Colts safety of the future. From what I know, I like Alec Pierce. I'm excited about him. I'm excited to have him on the team. I think he's a dog. And what I mean by that is he's going to fight. He's going to fight for the ball. As long as he doesn't drop a lot of passes or drop a lot of balls. That was one thing that I was talking to a guy at work that I work with about Michael Pittman Jr. And that was one thing he needs to. He's a big guy, man. He's good. He's really good. But a lot of those, being that size, those 50-50 balls where you have to fight for it and jump up and go get the ball and fight the corners for him, you've got to come down with those. He's got to come down with those. And you can't drop passes. There was more than a few passes this past season that he should have caught. Yes, and that's how it's going to be, and I'll expect to see them draft a quarterback next season that kind of fits that mold with the receivers that they have. Bigger, stronger Austin Collie. Somebody else mentioned that earlier. I hadn't thought about that reference, but I completely agree. He has that look, but he's bigger and he's stronger, which I'm all about. I loved Austin Collie. He was He was good stuff. Nick Foles. Man. Miggins, what's good? They did what I'm glad, and I talked about this. I'm a big David Bell fan. I like David Bell. I just didn't want him here. And it wasn't for any the majority of the reasons for that was because I didn't want him in Indy. I didn't want him, he's from here. He's got a lot of and that's you know what? I'm going to bring this name up, and that's somebody we haven't mentioned since we've been on live, and we're talking about Colts wide receivers and tight ends and all of that. Nahim Hines. So, right, absolutely. Wilkins. There's nothing wrong with Nahim Hines. To the point of with these wide receivers that we have, bringing Nahim Hines in and utilizing him more, like that's something this Colts offense is going to have to do. And you heard people even before this draft talk, well, we can move him over because he was a wide receiver in high school. Or I think he even started in college as a wide receiver and moved to running back. Start to use him. I think the Colts I think he will be the slot. I essentially think you'll see Nahim Hines play a hybrid type position as more of a slot. Hines is going to feast with Matt Ryan, and that's just it. So that's a name a lot of people are forgetting that we have on a roster who's a tremendous talent. So I'm looking forward to that. Needs to be a Hines dropped a lot of slot passes. When? Not last season. They didn't use him enough. He spent a lot of time on the sidelines last season. But I think if they end up being able to find a way to use him more. You know what? I don't know who they still have on the roster with Mac being gone. I was thinking we had another running back on the roster. But I to your point, you do bring up a good point because you're going to start to use Hines isn't going to be that guy. And you're going to start using him in a, or at least I think they will start using Hines in a little different way. Glad to see a Colts fan here on TikTok. Right, Carter? They're few and far between, my guy. Make sure you give me a follow if you would, guys. I appreciate the likes. Keep them coming. Thank you to whoever helped me hit 5K. Let them keep coming. Liquid butt water. Unbelievable. Nice screen name. If you can get a Dominic Rhodes, that would be great. Right. Dominic Rhodes, man. That dude was an absolute beast. He really was. He was always there when you needed him. And he was one of the few Colts that was traded, and we ended up bringing him back. Reckon somebody will get Baker when Browns say they'll eat 80% of his contract. Oh, yeah. I think the Browns will, and I don't think that'll end up having to happen. I think they will end up keeping him or riding that out as long as they can until a team's desperate. And you know how the seasons go. It won't take too long before a quarterback goes down. This is the same thing I think will happen with Jimmy G. Somebody's going to get hurt, and there's going to be a quarterback that goes down, and that team's going to be calling, and they're going to be absolute desperate, and they don't care how much money they spend nor what draft picks they give up. And the Browns and the Niners, if they wait till then, will they'll benefit from that greatly. However, I don't think with the Browns, I don't think the Browns are going to wait that long, though. I think it will probably be later on this spring because there is no way that Baker Mayfield is willing to start start as backup. I don't know if it's in Indy. The schedule comes out May 12th. I know they play, but I'm not sure if that's a home or away game. NFL loves the drama. They do. It's great. It gives all people like us something to talk about, and especially people like them. I think A.J. Brown in Philly is a good fit. I think he's a good fit for the team. I think he's a good fit for the fans. And as a Colts fan, I love that he's out of the AFC South. Yeah, Baker he does think too highly of himself. I'm hoping that, and I still think it'll happen. You've heard me say this a lot. I think what Baker's going through now, hopefully, is humbling him. Meaning, I hope it keeps a chip on his shoulder, and I hope it humbles him to a point where it changes his demeanor and his attitude a lot more. Panthers did make a smart choice choosing a quarterback. I'm most excited for Pierce and Jelani Woods. I am as well. I tell you what, and I may be out on an island. That kid, the corner from the Colts drafted a corner in the 7th round from Yale. His name is Rodney Thomas, the second, I believe. I think that kid will end up making the roster. Mavs and Suns, man, I've been so detached from the playoffs. Sorry, stand by one. Yeah, his arrogance, lack for better words, was got him in this situation. It is. But I don't blame, and you've heard me say this 1,000 times before, I don't 100% blame Baker Mayfield for all of it. Remember, he is with the Cleveland Browns. That is not a team that is very well put together. Now, if finals getting in Game 7, I might catch it. Right? I worked for the Pacers, and I didn't work a lot of games this year. That was part of my lack of interest because usually I know more about what's going on in the NBA right now than I do the NFL because I'm there more times than not. But this season, the Pacers just had a tough season. It was a tough transition. I expect that to be a lot different next season, and I'm going to come in after the pandemic and all the changes, and especially once you stop working somewhere for a while, it's kind of hard to get back on the horse, for lack of a better term, once that happens, and you go back. But yeah, I remember when we shut at the time Baker's Life and the Pacers down, we gave all the Pacers executives and everyone that worked for the Pacers 2 hours. You had a 2-hour window. We had a schedule. You had 2 hours to come in, take anything out of the office you needed to take. We didn't know when they were coming back. This was the weekend the men's basketball Big Ten tournament was supposed to have been going on. We completely canceled that. I was the only person in Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Me and then some food service people came because they had an entire Big Ten tournament going on that was supposed to be going on that weekend. So they had all the food, drinks, all the crowd stuff they were throwing out. I was calling people, trying to find people to come pick this stuff up because they were like, we're throwing all this away. We've, all of these other places that needed it were shutting down because of the pandemic. The city was shut down. It was weird. I called people to come down I was giving stuff away. I had my entire car filled twice, my Charger at the time, trying to take stuff to people in need that needed it. But that was weird. Let's see. Oh, you mean quit on the team without warning? We must be talking about Andrew Luck. And there it is. What was your reaction when Andrew Luck retired? That was I don't call it a retirement. He did quit. I'm still salty about it. Every once in a while, somebody will bring it up, and I'll go on a 15-minute tangent about it. But how he did that was completely wrong. I'm all about retiring and doing whatnot, but how he went about doing that was wrong. Is Rick Smith your neighbor? No, he is not. Any draft picks you didn't like for Indy? Not really, surprisingly enough. And I really, really expected. I even made a video. When we traded our, 42nd pick to go 53, I was like, this is it. This is a sign of things to come. This is going to be a complete crap show. I was glass half empty, negative Nelly, call it whatever you want. This guy definitely loves the Saints. Yeah, no. But then they come out with Alec Pierce. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm game with that. And then Jelani Woods, the tackle, and it went on. And they were all places. They were all like pretty much in that order is exactly when we talked on here is exactly how I would have drafted. And not that I am anybody, but just as far as what I thought our needs were and what a lot of people thought our needs were, that's the way that they went. So, but the loss of luck should no longer be an excuse for the organization. Absolutely correct. And I ask people this all the time: when is enough enough? When is that line? When do you draw that line in the sand as an owner or fans or whomever else? When you have a GM and / coach who were, there's no question, Chris Ballard was dealt a really crappy hand. And I still contest that if he would have known, or if we, as in the Colts, would have known that Andrew Luck was not going to be here when we hired Chris Ballard as general manager, I'm guessing the Colts would have brought someone different in. Because what Chris Ballard's dealt with over the past 5 years has been the one thing that he thought he was never going to have to address during his tenure here. And that was the quarterback position. That was the one thing that was going to be a guarantee. And he was going to build a team around a high-flying MVP caliber quarterback. And boy, did that change quickly. I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm ready for the torture ahead. I don't know. And what I mean by I don't think the Seahawks are going to be awful. You've got to have some faith. Have some faith in your team and that franchise that they know what they're doing a little bit. They're not just going to dump Russell Wilson off if it wasn't for a reason. And a lot of times we don't know what those reasons are until that next season starts. You're like, okay, this is, we're trying to achieve this. So, Andrew, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. That it's huge to me. It's a big deal, and I'm excited about it. Thompson. Well, oh God, that was my neck. Without a doubt, he needs to let the reins go on the play calling without question. I think that was one of my biggest my personal biggest complaints on him last year was the play calling. A lot of it was horrendous. And that's why I blame Carson Wentz. But I also blame Frank Reich with that because he wanted Carson Wentz to work out so bad and so much that I use this term all the time. It was like putting a square peg in a round hole. He just kept forcing the issue and kept forcing the issue. And it was not working. And we lost games because of it. Because he had so much faith in this kid that he wanted to see him work out, and it would not. 4th and 1 QB sneak, right? Full rebuild would be easier. It would have been at this point, but nah. I really think Baker or Jimmy will end up there. I don't see them sticking with Drew Lock. I don't either, and they're coming close to a full rebuild. But I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. I don't think anybody thinks that Drew Lock is or was or is the answer anywhere. I don't believe that to be the case. Maybe we're all wrong. But I could see Baker Mayfield being there more so than I can see Jimmy G. Do you think the NFL is rigged? I get asked that question a lot because I get a lot of people who are like, NFL's rigged more than WWE. I do not believe so whatsoever. Now, do I believe there are officials and referees that have relationships with quarterbacks and different players? Do I believe that they are football fans and have favorite teams just like we do? Absolutely, because the NBA is the same way. I'd get this question a lot, and part of my job when I worked with the Pacers, I would meet the officials, bring them in. I'd meet them as soon as they'd get to the arena or the field house. I'd bring them in, take them to the locker room, stay with them, make sure nobody comes, because it's all, you don't realize all of that, like nobody's really allowed in their locker room. They have police outside the door. It's a weird process on stuff like that. Because you want to save the integrity of the game, right? Because that's what I mean by that. So if the NFL was rigged, but going back, there are referees that have relationships with players and whatnot. Does that mean that they may lean one way on a call or missing a call every once in a while? Yeah, that absolutely happens. But as long as you always have human beings doing these jobs, that's going to happen. So, but with that being said, you've just got to work around that some games. There's some games that you don't get the calls or the other team gets the calls. But do I think that it's a predetermined outcome of a game before a game starts? Absolutely not. I do not. If that were to happen and that were to come out, it would... we're talking about billion-dollar-a-year industry here. It would be the fallout from that would be so huge from fans, from Vegas, from all of those things. I don't think it's rigged. No. Yes, Carter, I do. That's not my full-time job. I'm a police officer, but I work off-duty for Pacers Sports and Entertainment. Dave, thank you. Yes, we did. I thought we had a tremendous draft. Maybe my expectations weren't very high, but I think the Colts had a great draft. And it was somewhat surprising to me how good it ended up. I'm impressed. See him play maybe in the spring. Who are we talking about? Wanting to play? What did I miss? Ooh, what about point spread? Now, point spreads? Look, as long as you have gambling, you're always going to have you're run by the almighty dollar. And do I think that probably happens sometimes? I don't think it's widespread by any means. No. Do I think somebody with a lot of money gets to somebody that's in a position to affect a spread with calls or whatnot sometimes? Yeah. I could definitely see that happening without a doubt. But like I said, I also think that if any of that came out, if this was that common, it would definitely come out. Ooh, GM of a brand new team got a pick of quarterback. Current quarterback, I'm assuming. If I had a pick of one of the starting 32 right now with youth and all of that, I'm probably going to go Joe Burrow. All times Peyton, obviously. Yep. I think I'm going to go Joe Burrow or Josh Allen. Joe Burrow or Josh Allen. But I think it's going to be Joe Burrow. I like the guy's swag. I like his work ethic. I like his talent. That has nothing to do with being a Bengals fan or anything else. I think the kid's good. I think he's going to be around a long time. I think he's going to win a lot of things. I hope that Cincinnati does right by him, because the city of Cincinnati doesn't have a strong history of doing right with their franchises. Herbert's good, but I don't look at him and Joe Burrow on the same at the same level. I just don't. Yeah, ACL tear scares me. He does. Herbert has more to prove. You're right. And look, Rivers was good. And yes, I do shine my head. Yeah, I think Joe Burrow and Josh Allen, they're just on a different level, I think, as far as, their heart, their grit, their and their playmaking ability. Because when you have those things and you want to win, and not saying Herbert doesn't want to win, but these guys just kind of they're on a different level, I think. Breadman, I love the Colts draft picks, man. Absolutely love them. They exceeded expectations for me. Peyton will forever be the best Colt. I'm not going to argue. I'm never going to argue that point. Peyton Manning did more for this franchise and this city, more so than anybody else aside from maybe Reggie Miller, as far as what they did off the field and off the court as well. And that's a lot. That's a powerful statement, because you're talking about somebody that not just what they did on the field on a Sunday on 60 minutes in 1 week to affect a whole city long after you're gone. Like, that's making an impact. That, as a professional athlete, that's doing something on making an impact. I mean, he has a hospital here. Lucas Oil Stadium exists because of Peyton Manning. Hands down, no question, not even a shadow of a doubt. That being said, the old Bankers Life, now Gainbridge Life Fieldhouse, where the All-Star Game is going to be next year, exists because of Reggie Miller. Hands down, without a doubt, no question, and that was it. So Indy would have a much different look right now if it didn't have either one of those franchises. And they almost lost them both because they were in that bad of a place. They were poverty franchises. The Indiana Pacers, going back to, the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, the Indiana Pacers were in such disarray and such a poverty franchise that they literally, and when I tell you, and I'm talking to the older folks that may be in here, do you guys remember TV telethons like the Jerry Lewis telethon or whatever? They used to have stuff on TV. You didn't have cable. And they would have telethons with an 800 number or a number on TV where you'd call and donate money to whatever the cause was, a children's hospital or whatever the case may be. They literally had a telethon for the Indiana Pacers to raise money from the public to keep the team alive and here in Indy. Like they did a hours and hours long telethon where people were on TV trying to drum up and raise money for this team. That's the God's honest truth. And if you don't think that makes a difference on the fans that you have and your fan base and all that, it does. No, the Mavs are getting spanked. Suns 102, Mavs 85. No, I'm not worried about their future here. Look, the Pacers, who was better in their prime? Their athletic ability is two different. What's good? They were two different athletes. They were on two different levels of athletic ability. Peyton is that guy you want on your team. Like, as far as having somebody that knows everything that's going on the field, I still think he will forever be the smartest player ever to play the game. You can argue the best quarterback ever, obviously, because Tom Brady and all of his rings. But you'll be very, very hard-pressed to find somebody past or present that knows more, that had more of a passion, that cared more about the game of football, especially professional football, than Peyton Manning. Like that kid I call him kid, but as a kid, he was born for football. It was bred in him. It was in his DNA, and it still is. So I don't think he'll go into coaching. He will. I think he'll have an ownership stake in a franchise, and he'll go down and give his pointers and point his finger and do this, that, and the other. But problem in the Pacers, when Simon dies, that's when the question Pacers leaving. Right. But they won't let the Pacers won't leave. It's Indiana. And that's what people don't understand, because they do really well. It's not like that they don't sell out games, and even for a small market mid-level team, they do much better than any other. Let me rephrase this. They do better than some other franchises in larger markets, especially with the records that they have. And the Pacers are, I think they have the record for most playoff games played in without a championship.
Exclusive ticket access to unmissable events.
Colts 17-0 this year. That would be amazing, but I'm not that confident. Dave Black, Bernie Kosar. All right. Bernie Kosar. That's the last time the Browns were good, really. And I talked about that. We talked about that in the live here not too long ago. That's when they had the dog pound. They'd throw dog biscuits at players and all that. Cleveland was a tough place to play back in the day. Their fans were drunk, they were cold, and they were mean. I tell that story all the time. I wish Indy had an MLB team instead of it's actually a AAA team. But they were supposed to have, and I tell this story, I sound like a broken record, but they were supposed to have an MLB team that was called the Indianapolis Arrows. This was about 1983, 1984. That was one of the reasons the Hoosier Dome was built. That was before the Colts came to town. They built the Hoosier Dome for $83 million back in 1983 in hopes of having a professional baseball team or getting an expansion franchise of the NFL. So they built this brand new, at the time, state-of-the-art stadium. The Indianapolis Arrows, which was going to be the Major League Baseball team, was struck down because of Marge Schott, the owner of the Cincinnati Reds, and the Chicago Cubs voted against it. They were strongly against it because they claimed that a Major League Baseball team in the city of Indianapolis was going to pull too much from their fan bases in both cities. That's why that will never happen. And lucky for us, Robert Irsay, the owner of the Colts at the time, Baltimore refused to give them a stadium. They had Old Memorial Stadium in Baltimore that was absolutely falling apart. Baltimore refused to make a deal with them to build a new stadium. Their stadium was in disarray. Robert Irsay, our mayor, Bill Hudnut, gets on the phone with Robert Irsay and says, "Hey, we've got a brand new stadium here. Why don't you come check it out?" Robert Irsay flies to Indy, walks in the Hoosier Dome, and lucky for whoever designed this, every seat in the stadium was blue. That was just, this is another one of those weird nuances that's part of that story. And Robert Irsay walked in and looked around and said, "We're home," because all the seats were blue. And that was it. And we stole the Colts like a thief in the night from Baltimore, and there was no looking back. And we stole them on a bunch of Mayflower trucks. That was it. The greatest escape of the century. Absolutely. And the Colts have now been in Indy longer than they were ever in Baltimore, so this is Indy's team. Because I always felt like we were, that Baltimore cloud always hung over my head as a Colts fan, early on. Because I've been a fan of this team since they landed here. I remember that day because it was like Christmas in March. It was wild. Oh yeah, man! Look, the Colts coming to Indianapolis was one of the craziest, coolest stories I think out of the National Football League. And I do not own any part of Colts memorabilia. I think I have one thing, and I keep it in a box from Baltimore. I do not. I wasn't a Colts fan until they came here, and because I became a Colts fan because they were here in Indy. They were our team. So I have no 1953. That I don't even like buying Colts shirts or hoodies or something. So I'll get one for Christmas, or just weird, where it says established 1953. I hate wearing that stuff because I'm like, yeah, I don't, because it was huge. I remember it because it was huge. That there wasn't a lot going. Like Indianapolis was not the city that it is now. There wasn't anything here, and getting an NFL team was ginormous, like absolutely huge, and it was a big deal. It was a really big deal, and I still wear it every once in a while. I still have it's not the actual shirt, but I have the first shirt. So my best friend's mom bought me and him shirts the day the Colts came to town. Logo 7 was the big athletic wear manufacturer across the country, and it was located here in Indianapolis. So as soon as it was announced that the Colts were here, they started printing shirts, and I remember she bought me and Matt Colts shirts, and I still have the first one. Not the actual one, but I have one similar to it, but the same printout that I got that day. Absolutely, I miss Peyton Manning. My Lord, do I ever. Oftentimes I have old Colts games on in the background just for background noise, just to hear the names and the sounds of the game. Yes, the Bears. That was back in the day. No, I'm getting ready to wrap this up, man. I don't. This is about the most that you'll see on streaming the game. It's 106-91. Dallas is starting to come back in a little bit. Black jerseys. I do think the Colts should have a different style of jersey or an alternate. I love the color rush, but the only changes the Colts really make to their uniforms is the color of the face mask, from gray to white to blue. And the Colts they wore blue face masks from like 96 to 03, I think it was. And then they wore blue pants with white jerseys in 96 season during the away games. It's little weird things like that. But guys, it's 10 after 12. I got to get up at 6. And I think we will. I think we're going to start to. But I like it because it's old school, man. You look at all these other teams with all these different uniforms, and the Colts have stuck with it. And that's something that's kind of cool. Kind of like the Bears. So I like it. The Colts have a few alternates, that are old school, but not many. That was one of the things that really ticked me off about Carson Wentz. The Colts have like 2 other helmets ever in the history of this franchise. So when we wore throwbacks from like the 50s, I think it was, during a game this past season, they hand Carson Wentz his helmet. He's like, why is the horseshoe not on the side of it? They're like, it's a throwback. And he's like, oh, well, I guess that's kind of cool. I'm like, dude, this franchise is paying you $25 million a year. You are here to lead this team. You could at least do a Google search on the history of who you're working for. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's asking too much, because I tell you what, if another police department brought me in for a big raise right now and gave me a second chance at life, I'd be Googling everything about that place. See what they're, the history of them. If Wentz never fails. Yes. Right. He's going to throw more passes to the Eagles than the Skins. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I'm not a Carson Wentz fan. So, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much. If there's anybody in here that has not given me a follow, please hit that plus button if you would. Come back. We do this 4 or 5 nights a week, especially during the week as I'm ironing. Thank you for the likes. Thank you all so much. Please come back tomorrow. If you would, we'll iron it out again. We'll talk some more football. I always try not to be so heavy-handed with the Colts, but it's kind of hard. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you. I've got a couple of I didn't mention this earlier, but for Colts fans, I've got a couple of things in the works. Take some calls from people during live so you guys can ask some questions to it. And I'm not alluding too much, but people that I've got a couple former Colts players that are willing to come on here for a little bit, talk to us, answer some questions. So hopefully we'll do that sooner rather than later. Probably not going to do it till the school year's out unless I absolutely have to. So thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Remember, do something good for somebody. Say something good for somebody. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. Do what you can to make the world a better place tomorrow. Do better, be better. Thank you so much. Come back and see me tomorrow night. Have a great Tuesday. Maybe.